How can I help you, Mr. Hausman?
Yeah, I'd like to check in, please.
How can I help you, Mr. Hausman?
I'd like to check in, please.
How can I help you, Mr. Hausman?
I'd like to check in, please. I'd like.
How can I
I'd
help
like to
you,
check.
Mr.
I'd like.
Hausman?
Forget it. I'll just use the automated kiosk.
Do you live, eat, and sleep the hotel industry? Looking to brush up on your game? You've come to the right place. Welcome to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the No Vacancy podcast with me, your host, Glenn Hausman. You know how happy I am to have you here each and every week as I go around the world doing all of these shows. Man, it's kind of crazy how many places I've been lately, but we'll save that for another time. Right now, I'd love for you guys to text the word hotel to 66866 if you're a first-time listener and haven't already subscribed to our Sunday night newsletter. You're going to love that. You won't miss any of our shows, be it No Vacancy, Checking In with Anthony and Glenn, which I do with Hotel Impossible star Anthony Melchiori, the Hotel Design Podcast, the Hotel Tech Podcast, and soon I may or may not be having another one launching, but I'll be giving you guys that information as soon as it comes around. As you know, the show is brought to you in part by Duetto, the revenue strategy technology platform that thousands of hotels are using to make more money. Be sure to go to Get Revenue Results right now. That's getrevenueresults.com. You're going to watch this great video on how hotel management teams can collaborate and make more money with a smart, cogent revenue optimization strategy. I swear this video is going to change your world. Absolutely everything will be shattered. Your preconceptions about reality will be rejiggered. All right, maybe not that dramatic, but you know what I'm saying. Also, thanks to Red Roof for being a great sponsor of this show. So this week, I'm on the go. I'm up here at the Turning Stone Resort Casino in somewhere in the middle of New York, and I have with me Kelly Abdo. She's the Director of Public Relations here. Kelly, where am I?
So you are right in the middle of New York State, central New York.
Yep.
So you are about a half hour from Syracuse, and another hour and a half from Albany. So you're right in the middle of the state.
Which is pretty cool. I'm here for the New York State Tourism Authority meeting, and assuming all goes well today, I'll have the executive director of that association, Mark Dorr, as the second half of this show. Smart, conveniently located, especially for a hotel industry association. I only knew I was in a casino because I saw the Chihuly glass sculpture, and that's how I know I'm home in a place of gambling.
That is correct. Yeah, the Chihuly glass sculpture, the Tree of Life, is one of the iconic parts of a casino, but
right.
Also for here, it's one of our selfie spots that a lot of people stop and take pictures.
I was going to say, I normally feel like it's federal law to have a Chihuly in there, but you're a sovereign nation over here, so maybe it's just been a global agreement put together by the UN or something.
It's one of those iconic moments of a casino that you've arrived when you have a Chihuly glass sculpture.
Yes, you certainly have. Now, this resort seemed to have been here, man, I would say moments after the Indian Gaming Act was passed in the late 90s. That actually came to fruition a few years later when we saw the first big ones open in Florida, and then over in Connecticut you had Foxwoods, and later on Mohegan Sun. But you've always been here kind of floating under the radar, yes. And then you kind of burst onto the scene a number of years after that.
Yeah, so the Oneida Indian Nation, who owns Turning Stone, originally started gaming on their reservation and just had a bingo hall in kind of double wide trailers, and it went really well, and it was providing a lot of finances for the nation, for the Oneida Nation. And so in 1993, the Oneida Nation in the state of New York, Governor Mario Cuomo at the time.
Right, we've got another Cuomo,
yes,
his son,
yes.
right now, who's up for re-election. We'll see what happens there, but he seems to have a commanding lead.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
And so they passed the 1993 Gaming Compact, which basically paved the way for the Oneida Nation to continue gaming on sovereign land, or on their sovereign land right now. And over the last 25 years, the Oneida Nation has just kept expanding, not only Turning Stone, but also introduced 2 other casinos in central New York.
Oh, which ones are those?
So we have Yellow Brick Road Casino, which is about a half hour towards Syracuse. And then we have Point Place Casino, which actually just opened last year. A little like North Syracuse, kind of in the same area. But so we have 3 casinos now that the Oneida Nation owns and operates.
Wow, that's pretty cool. But of course, this is the crown jewel of the Oneida gaming empire over here. And like some of the other tribal casinos I've seen around the country, it's grown, and you've continued to add new components. And now I got to say, I was last here getting on 20 years ago when it was a little more than the double wides. You did have a hotel here.
Yeah.
The casino was. I'll use it in New York State real estate parlance, cozy, right?
Yeah, so when we opened in 1993, we actually only had tables.
Right.
And then a couple of years later, we introduced slot machines, and we moved the bingo hall from the Oneida Nation reservation over here to Turning Stone. And then, so it was just basically a box with just the table games and slot machines and the bingo hall. And then we added a hotel. Then we slowly added another hotel and another hotel. So now we actually have 4 hotels. We have an RV park. We have over 20 dining options and restaurants, all signature restaurants. We have 2 entertainment venues. We have nightlife with live entertainment every weekend, 2 spas, 5 golf courses. So it's really just kind of expanded over the last 25 years to this destination resort that it is today.
Yeah, and I stayed in the tower last night. Yes. Great property. Really a nice treat to arrive here and have such a great room, great experience, great resort all around. It just feels friendly, open, and fun.
Yes.
Sometimes I go to some regional casinos and it just feels like it shouldn't be here, right? But this place just has such a positive energy to it. And I even ate dinner last night at the Upstate Tavern.
Yes.
By the way, I think I would have a bone to pick with you because you've totally ignored everything from Westchester down to New York City, down to Long Island with this Upstate Tavern.
Upstate.
But I feel it's okay because we don't consider you part of New York anyway as New York. So,
There are two distinct areas of New York. There's upstate, and then there's everywhere else.
Right. Well, we consider it just us.
Right.
That's why I didn't know where I was here in the center of New York State, because
yes.
I'm still a little confused
Yes.
that I'm still in New York State.
A lot of people from New York City think you need a passport to come up here, but it's only 4 hours from New York City.
That's right.
But Upstate Tavern celebrates everything upstate New York and food. We do a lot of partnerships with local breweries and wineries. And then the tower where you're staying, we actually just renovated that recently and worked with local designers. We brought in a local photographer, so all the artwork in your room that you see that kind of, it's all the central New York landscape photos. So since we've opened 25 years ago, the Oneida Nation has really kind of looked for those local partnerships to kind of bring in other central New York businesses, and as we succeed, kind of the surrounding communities succeed as well.
I think that's really terrific, and it plays very much into a lot of the trends that we're seeing in the hospitality industry with that sense of authenticity and locality and all of that. I had a really good burger last night, and I'm really a snob when it comes to my food choices, but it looks like the food and beverage program you have throughout the 20 restaurants is absolutely spot on. The steakhouse looked really great. The Italian place looked really great. Sorry if I haven't memorized all these names and I'm not reading off a list because I'm just too lazy to do that. I even saw a cool fried chicken joint, fast food place, and in the food hall, which is the new word for food court.
Yes.
I like food hall. It sounds more upscale. You could charge an extra couple of bucks per plate. It looked like great tacos over there. So really nice stuff. Also on the gaming floor, what I noticed is the delineation between a smoking section and non-smoking section, which I think is really essential for the future viability of a smart casino operation.
So recently, again, within the last year and a half, we put over $20 million into renovating the gaming floor. And part of that was to create 2 distinct kind of gaming experiences on the gaming floor, one for our smoking guests and then one for our non-smoking guests, because there's not many other casinos in New York State that you can smoke at, or even in the surrounding areas. So we wanted to honor both of our guests because there are still
absolutely.
So the Casino Blue, which is our smoking section, is state-of-the-art air filtration. So even though it's our smoking section, you don't walk in and
Yeah, agreed. And same thing in the bingo hall.
Yes.
I had to go check out the bingo hall because I've always had the fascination with how that works. So I saw, gosh, must have been over 1,000 people there with their
Yes.
little stampers,
Yeah.
I-27, bloop, 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 all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But you walk through the smoking area, and there's really no difference in odor and feel between them. So that's pretty cool that you're able to accommodate both sides of that equation.
Exactly. And both are, very viable for our business. So
Right.
we want everybody to feel comfortable here and welcome. So we have those distinct, differences in all of our gaming on the gaming floor.
Kelly, I want to learn a little bit about more what you do. Now, if you're in a casino in Las Vegas, or if you're in a casino in, Atlantic City even, or some of the other major areas, or like I'm thinking about the Seminoles Hard Rock down in Florida, for example, they're strong established destinations and stuff like that. You have to probably approach PR in a little bit different way than some of those folks do. Even though it looks like you have the same services, amenities, and entertainment that comes through. I saw Paul Anka's coming, Howie Mandel is coming, Major Eagles cover band, Hotel California,
Yes.
are they called,
Yeah.
right? So all of these bands that we've all heard of are coming. So what is your job like on a day-to-day basis in context of being in the middle of New York State?
So a lot of it is, again, leveraging not just what we have here at Turning Stone, but what's going on around us. So we have Cooperstown not that far away. So
how far is that?
It's about an hour.
Oh, cool.
An hour. And so, Baseball Hall of Fame weekend and, leveraging a lot of that. We know that people are coming in. We had a lot of the baseball teams who are being honored stay here at Turning Stone. We have the, Finger Lakes and all the wineries nearby. So, during the summer and those kind of seasons, that it's really just partnering with those different destinations and kind of giving people the whole reason to come to Central New York and stay here, but also experience everything that the region has to offer.
So you're appealing mostly to folks within, I'll just say, 3-4 hour drive.
Yes, we call it the one tank, one tank trip, but yes, it's about 4 hours radius.
So how does that inform your strategy when you're trying to get mentions in the news?
So we try to show everything that there is to do here. So we have John Legend performing here at the beginning of December, but it's also the holidays is a big time of year. So, we kind of position it as come relax, enjoy the holidays, enjoy John Legend concert. And also we have a gingerbread village that's the biggest in, the area.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's 70 feet long.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's quite expansive. So it's really just kind of leveraging all of that and showing that you may not have thought to drive to Central New York, but when you get here, you can either enjoy everything that is going on around us, or you can park your car and never need it again because there's so much to do right here in Turning Stone.
Wow. Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm not a huge gambler, but I love the atmosphere of the casino gaming resort environment because there's so many other layers to it. That being said, I'm a little concerned that you guys might have to close up because I won $7.13 last night in a slot machine. I played some sort of zombie slot machine. I got a huge payday there. So I'm sorry that you're probably going to be on the streets after this.
Okay.
But
well we hope you spend that $7 well.
Well, if I was in Las Vegas, that would be able to get me less than one half of a cocktail at one of the major strip resorts. So, hey, I'm nearly there. I'm going to be in Vegas next week, so I'm going to have a half a drink on the Oneida Nation, unless, of course, I throw my money back into the slot machine before I get out of here today, which is a distinct possibility, Kelly. So, all right, back to the whole environment. How do you see all of those pieces coming together in the way that you try to connect your public relations strategy?
So we position Turning Stone as a destination. So whether you're coming for a concert, or you're coming for the food, or you're coming to game, enjoy any of our golf courses or our spas. So we can, we have the ability to just kind of package it all together as one great ultimate weekend. Or if you're not interested in the gaming part, or you're not interested really in the spas, we also have the flexibility to there's a certain guest that comes just for our golf. And they're going to come and they're going to travel. During the summer, a lot of people are traveling from Florida or Arizona because it's so hot to golf there. But that gives us an opportunity. So people come here for the golf during the summer, but then they're also introduced to the steakhouse and all of our other restaurants and the spas.
Yeah, I wish I was here long enough to go check out the steakhouse because I saw a lot of happy, full people coming out of the elevator as I was going back up to my room because the steakhouse is on the 21st floor. So
Great
it's at
views.
the top. You could probably see, for miles all around New York State, these lush rolling hills. And this is such a great time of year because all the leaves are changing.
Colors,
Oh, it's just absolutely beautiful. Makes it much, much prettier than where I live on Long Island. Although we've got some really good-looking strip malls where I live.
So TS Steakhouse is, like you said, on the top of the Tower Hotel. And we have windows all around the restaurant. So you get 360-degree views of all the golf courses. You can see all the way to Oneida Lake. It's really breathtaking up there.
Yeah. What's your favorite aspect of your job? Maybe tell me a little bit about what you go through every single day. Because there's a lot of folks out there that really don't understand how your department works in the hospitality universe.
So the fun part about my job is that no day is the same as the day before.
Right.
We have so much to, promote and talk about. One day I'm talking about the renovation of the gaming floor and kind of the business side of our business. But then the next day we're able to promote, a great concert like John Legend. And also, just the nature of public relations has changed. So it's not just traditional media anymore. It's finding those digital influencers that have, huge followings on YouTube or Instagram, and partnering with them on ways to kind of showcase our property.
Could you give me a great example on a successful partnership you've had with one of these influencers?
So it's a local influencer, but...
Which is what you want.
Yes.
And I think everyone needs to understand the context of it. Yes. Local is great for what you're trying to drive because, again, that 3-4 hour one-tanker group of people, which would be different strategy than Las Vegas, for example. But I think what you're doing is what most hotels and resorts around the country are thinking about.
Yeah, so we're trying to find those people right here in our community that are going to reach the people that are most likely to be coming here. So one of our great partnerships is with Utica Coffee, which is a company right here in Utica. It started out where we were featuring their product in one of our restaurants, and then people kept raving about how great the coffee was, and then it kept expanding, and now they one of the other businesses that the Oneida Nation owns is called Maple Leaf Market. So it's kind of a sandwich shop, convenience store, and Utica Coffee is the exclusive coffee partner served at Maple Leaf Market. And so through that partnership, we have been able to, Utica Coffee promotes, hey, we're featured in Pino Bianco, our Italian restaurant, but then they're also talking about our food that goes well with, before you have your coffee and your dessert. So it's so using, those sort of local partnerships, and they are communicating to their followers how great the property is.
Right. To me, that's an essential way of doing this. And for those of you that are new to the show, I'll get a little more of that. But for those of you who've been following me for a long time, you know that I quit a full-time job 3 years ago because I really felt that content marketing was the way of the future. And I wanted to get into that big time, as well as host these different podcasts that I do and the speaking engagements that I do. Feel free to hire me for your next event. Anyway, so the whole idea is people don't necessarily trust an article in a newspaper as much as they used to, but they do trust relationships.
Yes.
And they really, if your friend tells you this was great, you're going to believe them. And that, I think, extends that goodwill, that feeling, that positivity extends to the influencers. So if you're connected to somebody that you think is in the influencer community as someone that checks their Twitter feed, their Instagram account all of the time, you're more likely to believe the messaging that they're delivering to you. So it's really smart, and I see this all the time, where great folks like you are partnering with these influencers to help drive that message home because it adds that layer of believability.
Exactly. And, we could post a picture of a great entree at one of our restaurants.
Right.
But if someone else is sharing their own picture of, I just had a great meal, at Wildflowers Restaurant, and they show what they had for dinner, and they kind of come at it from their own perspective, it carries a lot more weight as far as word of mouth than us. When we do it, it's marketing.
Right.
When someone else does it, that's word of mouth that carries a lot more weight.
Yeah, it certainly does. So if you out there have a property, start to think about how you could leverage those local influencers that are there to help drive business. And I see this as a particularly good thing for restaurants. If you already have a lot of transient business and group business coming through, that's super. But if you really want to try to buffet that restaurant business, I think that's an ideal way to work with it. There are so many great influencers in every community around the country. If you can find great ones here in the middle of New York State, you can find them absolutely everywhere. Not that there's nobody here, but I'm the New York guy, so I want to, and New York City guy. So I think a little bit differently about how upstate strategy. So what's the coolest thing that you're doing right now?
So the coolest thing I'm working on right now, we are about to open 4 new retail locations. You probably saw it downstairs.
I did. Construction is fast and furious.
Yes.
Looks like almost any day now I've seen them putting in fixtures and stuff. Ooh.
Next week, November 1st, we open 4 new stores.
And they're all locally owned and curated stuff.
Yeah, so they're owned by, again, another partnership that we're using is this entrepreneur out of Syracuse. And he has a few stores that are local in Syracuse, and he's kind of brought his brand here to Turning Stone, and it's the first time that we've actually, we have all signature restaurants, and all of our properties are owned and operated by the Oneida Nation. This is the first time that we're bringing in someone else who is owning and operating stores within the resort. So we're really excited about it, and we're excited to kind of add another layer of shopping, especially as we go into the holiday season.
Yeah, that'll be terrific. So was there something that existed where they're putting in those 4 stores now?
So it used to be, it's called the Winter Garden because there's flowers there year round, but they had 2 waterfalls that kind of circulated the rainwater from the roof. And,
right.
So we kind of did away with those just to build more space for the retail.
All right, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I love it. Any particular concerts and events that you're most excited about coming here? Because I bet you have a little bit of ability to get some access to these things.
Yeah. So December 1st actually is Pentatonics and their Christmas tour, and then 98 Degrees is coming for Christmas as well. So it's going to be a fun holiday entertainment season.
Well, who doesn't love the Lachey's?
Yes.
Me, but other than that, I'm more of a hippie jam band kind of guy. When you said Utica, the only thing that came into my mind was this infamous Guyutica fish show. Anyone who knows that knows that. If you don't, it's not worth explaining. Way too confusing, way too off topic. So, what's for the future of Turning Stone Resort? I mean, you've got so many different components already. The only thing I could think of is adding a major, outlet mall.
So we, we're really just gonna. The future is kind of using these retail locations that we're about to open, kind of see how they do. But one of the good things and exciting things about working here is the Oneida Nation is always looking to evolve and improve the amenities here. So as our guests are changing and asking for different things, we're changing. So you never know what's gonna kind of come up, but there's a lot of, it's just over the last 5 years even, the resort has changed so much. So I'm excited to see what happens over there.
It looks like over time, as we're seeing in the casino resort atmosphere, you're focusing on a lot more of those amenities and services off the gaming floor as more people understand that they want to come to have a full experience and spend a lot of their money not gambling as well as the money gambling. Now, I'm not going to ask you necessarily to give me that, but industry statistics are in Las Vegas. Off the floor is about 60% of revenue now. On the floor is about 40% of revenue, and I'm seeing a lot more of that on these fully developed resorts. So if you are in that position, there's a great opportunity for food, beverage, entertainment, all of those types of things. And I think retail is the next big thing, which is why I predict one day you guys are going to have a big retail outlet mall. But I'll come back here in 2022, and we'll see what happens then. So any final thoughts, Kelly? This might be, and then maybe give yourselves a great shameless plug for how we could find you all over here.
Sure. So, so you can just find more information on turningstone.com and all of our other, properties. We have yellowbrickroadcasino.com. But here at Turning Stone, I mean, definitely come check us out this holiday season. It's, we have the Gingerbread Village, we have holiday carolers, we have breakfast with Santa every Saturday.
Fun.
And then our retail stores are going to be opening. So
beautiful, awesome. So really great environment. I highly recommend you guys checking it out. Fun place, and I really enjoyed myself here. And hopefully, I'll enjoy my 6-hour drive home after this because it's only 4.5 hours on the Waze app. But
once you get to
once I get to
LA,
New York City region, I'll be looking at the George Washington Bridge probably for 2 hours.
Right.
What are you can do? All right, so stick around because after this commercial break, I got another great interview for you. Thanks for listening, and we'll be right back.
Have a question for your host, Glenn? Tweet him now at Traveling Glenn. No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast. We'll be right back.
Hey everyone, Glenn here. So for the past couple of months, I've been sharing with you all the exciting things that have been going on with Red Roof. And today, I want to talk to franchisees looking to get in on the explosive growth of the extended stay segment. You know how much I love that segment. I'm really behind this segment. And Red Roof is getting behind this segment too with Hometown Studios by Red Roof. They're introducing it right now in a phased launch with over 30 properties across more than 20 markets with over $50 million in renovation. So they're betting big on these apartment-style studios that are going to offer the amenities guests really want today, such as upgraded decor, a kitchenette, full-size refrigerator, on-site laundry facilities, free Wi-Fi, of course, and more, and more, and more, all while continuing Red Roof's tradition of clean, comfortable accommodations at an unmatched value. And speaking of value, I'm pretty sure USA Today readers for the second year in a row named Red Roof the best budget hotel brand in America. So franchisees get that amazing brand awareness that customers already have, plus a seasoned management team and a richest-in-class loyalty program with more than 2.5 million members. And that just happens to be the least expensive for owners, too. Man, these guys are crushing it. And that's in addition to their award-winning marketing department and a dedicated website based on their fastest in-class with mobile-first technology. Finally, with Hometown Studios by Red Roof, you'll be working with a company with a franchisee satisfaction of 94%. How great is that? And those franchisees will tell you genuine relationships, real results. It isn't just some slogan, it's how Red Roof does business. Get in on a new way to extended stay. Visit redrooffranchising.com or give them a call at 888-473-8861. That's 888-473-8861.
Back to the show. It's No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Welcome back to the No Vacancy podcast with me, your host, Glenn Hausman. So happy that you guys stuck around for the second half of the show because I'm excited because I'm getting to talk to somebody from an association. I don't get to do that all the time. Yeah, I know. I talk to the guys from AHOA, I talk to HLA, but this is the New York State Tourism Authority, and I have Mark Dorr, who's their president. We're going to learn a little bit about what they do every day and the issues that they face. Mark, great to talk to you, man.
Thank you, Glenn. Great to be here.
Yeah, it's super to have you here. And I'm up at the Turning Stone Casino. Everyone knows that because you listened to the first half of this show where I talked to Kelly Abdo, the Director of Public Relations over here. Middle of Verona, New York. We're here for your annual meeting. Great job so far. I'm loving this meeting.
Yeah, thanks. We get about 300 people to our meeting. We just had a familiar name speak at our luncheon. Had about 180 people there. It was Anthony Melchiori.
I'm sorry, who? I don't
Anthony
know.
Melchiori?
I don't know. No, Anthony. I'm just messing with you. Anthony Melchiori. He is, of course, my partner from the Checking In with Anthony and Glenn podcast. And what a crazy experience that was. That poor guy last week not just broke his ankle, shattered his ankle. What a mess. It looks like one of those snow globes where you shake it and the little pieces just go flying all over the place. But we managed to get him to speak to the audience anyway.
Yeah, I got to tell you, he's a great guy. People often ask me, I've known him probably 6 months now. They're saying, no, is he just like he is on TV? And I say, he's passionate like he is on TV, but he's a great guy, level-headed, wanted to make it to our conference about 2 weeks ago, as you said, shattered his ankle. I got to tell you, the guy called me just about every day, sent me a text. I'm going to be there. I'm going to do the best I can. Came this morning, the doctors and the nurses, everybody said, it's not a good idea to get in the car and go 6 hours. So it was his idea. We did a Skype.
Yep.
And got everything all set up in about 3 hours. He did a great job. Everybody loved him. But it's just, again, his commitment to life, his commitment to tourism, and can't say enough about him.
No, speaking about a commitment to tourism, you're dedicating your life to the commitment to tourism, especially here in New York State. Now, I'm a traditional downstater guy, right? I have a hard time remembering that there's anything above Westchester County. So I'm excited to learn as much as the audience is today about what it is you do. What are the big things that you're trying to get people to understand when it comes to the state of tourism here in New York State?
Yeah, I got to say, our state, we have the I Love New York program that's government funded. We're a nonprofit association, so we're standalone. We're not state affiliated, but we support all of the state government promotion that we do. Governor Cuomo's done a great job and spends at least $70-80 million per year to bring travelers into New York State. So that, in turn, benefits all of our members. We have 1,100 hotel members, and what we're trying to do is help the promotion get people into those rooms, and it's a great state to be in.
I'm curious about how you're doing in two tracks. Number one, just general tourism, but how are you convincing folks that come to New York City to leave that 5 boroughs and come on up to New York State or go on out east on Long Island?
Yeah, I could tell you about upstate New York specifically. A lot of the regions, again, a lot of people that go to New York City don't realize they're anything above Westchester.
Right, and there's so many great things. I grew up in New York, and I still don't appreciate how awesome upstate New York is.
Yeah, and what has been happening in New York State is instead of individual counties and areas promoting what they have, say if it's apple picking or ghost tours or famous battlefields, they're coming together in regions and saying there's 3 or 4 great historic things to do in this region,
right,
and then pooling that money together and promoting down in New York City to bring them up. And they're also doing a lot with group business, getting them there and say, if that group's coming into New York City, hey, why don't you spend a couple extra days coming to upstate New York because there's 3 or 4 great things to do.
Yeah, it's definitely more than 3 or 4 things. Great things to do. Just like the Hudson Valley, for example. I remember the Catskills region was huge for me growing up. I think it was in the 1970s when I was a kid. It was like the tail end of the big resorts that they had over there. So I have much affinity for lots of different places in New York. I still want to check out like places like Lake Placid, though. I haven't made it that far up.
Yeah, Lake Placid is beautiful. You got to make the effort to get there. You got to want to get in your car and go up there. But once you're there, it's the most beautiful part of New York State. There's a lot to do. One of the great things is the old Olympics when it was held there in 1980.
Yeah.
1980. And I remember my parents went. I was still too small. But when you go up there, you can do a lot of things that the Olympians do, whether it's bobsled, ski jump. You can go on the ice rink where the famous game was held, shoot slap shots. I've done all of that, and it's a great experience to bring your kids and have a great time.
Right. And that famous game he's referring to is when the United States beat the Russians in hockey, which at the height of the Cold War was a really, really big deal. But what people don't realize is that wasn't actually the gold medal game. That was the game to get into the gold medal game. But it was just such a huge thing that it's really stuck with all of us New Yorkers for decades.
Yes, and it's still the biggest promotion up there. You can go up, you can see everything. They have the museum. And Lake Placid is just one example as how they've turned some great things into tourist attractions. And that region has banded together in order to promote and bring people in, as all the regions are doing.
Yeah, I was about to say, it sounds to me it's a story of regions because New York State is such tremendous in size. Now, I'm here in the middle of all of New York State. And I came from Long Island in Smithtown, and it was a 5-hour drive for me. That's just to get part of the way into the state. So you can imagine how big this is. How does that, I don't want to frame it as a negative, but what are the opportunities and challenges you have with such gigantic turf? Because, Rhode Island's got about 12 square feet they got to worry about.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you have to make it a multiple week. A lot of people are doing, the 3-day long weekends, and they're going to a region and experiencing that. So you have to you can't do it all at once.
Right.
You got to, if you're coming into New York State to a specific region, there's so much to do there over the course of a few days that you're going to want to keep coming back to New York, especially different seasons.
Right.
You got spring, Niagara Falls in the summertime. I was there with my kids, 95 degrees. There's nothing better than going on the Maid of the Mist, going on the right under the falls. Everybody's getting there's so much to do in the summertime. And then you go to your cider mills and your pumpkin patches and everything in the central part of the state. So it's very seasonal, too. The ski areas we have, people really don't know this, but it includes tourism. We have the second most ski areas outside of Colorado in the country.
What?
So yeah, so we have ski is a big industry for us. People don't think of it right off the top of their head, but for tourism, having a great ski industry helps the hotel industry, which we're worried about, fill their hotel rooms year round. Fill our hotel rooms year round.
Right, yeah, and that is such a challenge. So you need to have all those seasonal aspects. Otherwise, you're stuck in, certain areas like in Florida. You don't want to be there in July or August. But there are things to do in New York State, no matter what time of the year, that is specifically appropriate to that season. It's not like you have to fudge it or anything.
Right, and the marketing that our folks do is tremendous because they know where their season is and where they can drive the most rate and have the best occupancy, and they focus on those. And everybody always talks about, shoulder seasons in New York State. Well, you got a great summer, everybody's here, but you also have fall, and you have the leaf and people traveling and hiking, and then you have ski in the winter. So really, we've been able to, especially over the last couple decades, really promote every single season and drive business all year round.
How's business been going in terms of overall tourism to New York State?
Overall tourism's up every year. The last 5 years has gone up about 2% with travelers coming in. For our industry, the hotel industry,
right.
The difficult thing is with those travelers coming in, there's also a huge influx of new hotels being built, which for our organization is great because we're based on members. But when you're looking at that, the occupancy that they're all fighting over stays very stagnant because you have more people coming in, but there's more hotel room inventory. So the hotel industry is still a very tough one to succeed in.
So you're basically following the law of supply and demand with distribution worked in there. So, but to me, it seems like you're going to have to take a more central role in helping hotels figure out ways to promote themselves because massive amount of properties are not those big branded hotels that you just go on to brand.com website to find. So it's great that the internet is out there, so it's more easy for people to find all this wide variety of great independent properties, but at the same time, you're fighting against the mindset, I'll just go to that biggest brand there is.com.
Yep. And the biggest thing for those independent properties out there, believe it or not, is the reviews online.
Right.
You got to make sure your guests are happy, everything's clean, you're running a great operation because all the people that I talk to, when you say, hey, I'm looking to take a trip to, Buffalo, the first thing anybody who's not in the hotel business does go, I'm going to go and read those reviews. And if you have good reviews, as Anthony talked about today, if you're a 3-star hotel and you have 5-star reviews, people are going to stay there.
That's right.
If you're a 5-star hotel and you got 3-star reviews and things aren't that, people are not going to be as likely to stay there. So making sure that your reviews are good, you're taking care of your guests, that's the most important thing for our folks.
Okay, so then what are some of the things that you're helping them learn and understand in order to build their business? Because what I found, and I don't mean to minimize anyone's skill levels, but I found a lot of the independent hoteliers are not as sophisticated owners as some of these giant management companies that have come into play that operate 30, 50, 100 different hotels in their portfolio. They've got scale. They've got a big bench pool of talent. So it's a different set of opportunities and challenges for the big brands and the ones that operate the big brands as opposed to those mom and pop hotels.
Yeah, the mom and pop hotels, and to do it themselves with
Right.
a really small staff is virtually impossible to do. You really have to put money aside from your revenues to hire a firm that can market your property. The successful small, I wouldn't even call them mom and pops, but your inns and even your smaller boutique hotels, they have hired top-notch talent that this is all they do, and social media and websites to make sure that they have a presence. On your Google searches, you got to make sure that you have those keywords that drive you to the top of the list. That's what they should be investing in addition to everything else, but you've got to make a point in your budget to have that if you're a smaller property.
Right. I mean, basic entry is just having a clean, comfortable room with great amenities and giving that 5-star experience if you're a 3-star hotel, for example, as you just mentioned. But it's also, if you want to level the playing field, you have to have that technological savvy in order to be seen in conjunction with the companies that are out there that are spending millions and millions and millions on it.
You're exactly right. And that we hear that a lot from our smaller members is I need help marketing against some of these bigger engines that just have so much outreach, so much money,
Right.
but they have come to the realization that they got to spend what they can to make sure that their presence online is very, very strong. We used to do as an organization, just to give some perspective on the online, we used to do 500,000 New York State travel maps that we produced, listed all of our members. About 8 years ago, we did a study. We did a lot of research. Hey, do we still want to produce all of these maps? It was a cost to the organization. They came back and said, your money's better spent on other things because we need to get our presence online. We can't do that for all of our members. We could print a map and distribute it, but to handle online for all of our members was tough.
Right.
But that's how everything's changed. So you got to spend the money on that. You know, there's a place for print still, but there's really gone to that online where people are in their cars, go to their phones, they're in a town. Where do we want to stay? What are we going to do? And then you just find it online. You show up.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. That totally reminds me of back in the early 2000s when the major brands were debating whether or not to stop printing the guides that they had with all the different properties that they had in it, which the day it came out was outdated anyway. So, yeah, I mean, that's just smart 21st century thinking to reframe the way that you're putting your dollars. But what strikes me is you said earlier you love more and more hotels, but that's not necessarily great for the overall businesses that exist today. How do you balance the need for smart growth with, you know, taking care of the people that are already here, if you can even do that?
You know, it's tough. What we've seen in the hotel industry, at least in New York State, is you got some new hotels inventory coming on. Top notch, brand new, everybody's interested in it. They don't charge a huge rate on it. So they don't charge an exorbitant rate to start out. So some of the hotels that have been there a long time have established their rates and might not be as brand new and as shiny. They're having to drop their rates on their revenue to compete. And, you know, what's happening is some of the long-standing hotels maybe that haven't made the investment or haven't done the upgrades that they should, they're the ones struggling, and they're the members of ours that call and say, hey, you know, we're trying to sell our hotel. What are we going to do? And we try to help them along the way. But that's the biggest thing. It's not really being able to manage it. It's just the newer, nicer hotels that are coming in at a lower rate, and it's really causing real competition.
Especially when it's one of those big branded properties that people are familiar with, because as we know, brand is a shortcut to a promise. So when you already have one of those names that you're familiar with, I think, and you find out it's brand new, your gut is more likely to say stay with them. And it could very well be to the detriment of the experience, because they could possibly have a much better experience if they just went to a hotel that they weren't familiar with that isn't backed by a giant reservation system.
Right. And we find, too, that the point system's huge. Everybody is in it. Everybody's got branded point hotel. And that's some of the independent folks in our membership call and say, you know, how do we get involved in a point system? We need to give rewards. We need to get up to speed on that because, you know, people stay at a hotel. They got free overnights. They want to go on vacation. They want to travel to New York State. Hey, I got 2 free overnights. Let's go to Niagara Falls and stay somewhere for free. I mean, we've paid for it already,
of course,
ahead of time. But that's one of the things where some of the independent properties are having to get up to speed on making sure they have a reward system that works for those repeat guests.
Now, there are reward systems out there for independent companies for sure. I'm not going to plug you guys. You know who you are. You know, if you want to advertise, give me a ring. But I'm also wondering if there's any sort of possibility for like you folks to back something like that. I know it's a little outside what you do and probably a little costly and all that, but I'm just thinking off the top of my head, why not band together all of these New York State hotels that are independents and create some sort of reward system for loyalty for staying in New York?
Yeah, we're working on that independently with other point system and reservation system operators.
So kind of like those third-party providers that are already out there,
yeah.
They can apply their technology and know-how and create something for you.
Correct, yeah, and we can get them a discount for our members saying if you want to participate in this. We're working on 2 or 3 of those.
That's awesome.
But haven't come to fruition yet, but that's one of the areas we're working on for the independents.
What are some of the other issues that the folks within your organization are concerned with these days?
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't get into saying the short-term rentals, in quotations, you know, the Airbnbs of the world. They're really what we're looking to do in New York State, not to get into the weeds, is have a structure kind of like they do in New York City, but upstate and on Long Island where, you know, they're paying occupancy tax, sales tax, and there's very minimal What we're asking for is safety and security and some insurances. Because as we talk, and we've talked during the podcast, you have a lot of people making a lot of investments. They're following a lot of rules and regulations in New York State. And as it's the case across the country, if you wanted, Glenn, or I did want to rent out 3 bedrooms and start running a business out of my house, no one's going to come knock on my door and say, you owe us taxes.
Right.
Where's your fire alarm? And it's a safety and security issue too. So that's what we're really trying to work on. We're trying to partner with other states and the national folks and New York City folks to make sure we can try to get that done for our members.
And that's really so critical. And when the American Hotel and Lodging Association first started to take the position of, everything needs to be fair and equal, I totally got it. But it came off as almost like, you don't have anything better argument to make. But the more I've thought about it and marinated on it, I mean, you really do have to have a level playing field, or else it's just not fair. And all of these people that are not protecting the folks that are staying in their facilities are the ones that are going to make the biggest dollars.
Yeah, and I'm going to come at it from a little bit of a different perspective on the way that as the president of the New York State Hospitality and Tourism Association, there's a place.
Yes,
there's a place in New York State for those short-term rentals. And I'm a bit, if you have an arts festival, if you have a music festival that's in a town where they haven't found the need to, build a hotel, and you want people to stay an extra night and, go to the restaurants and shop and go to the NT, you need places for people to stay.
Right.
So those short-term rental opportunities are perfect. The only thing we're saying is you just have to have some mechanism of reporting and having a system where people know that they're collecting the proper taxes.
But at the same time, when you talk about the supply-demand issues that you're having in certain markets, then it might not be welcome except at those select times. So it's a tough job that you have trying to balance the needs of all of the citizens in state and all the businesses that are in and outside the association.
You're exactly right. And it's a lot of the rural communities that are in need of it. If you're going to Syracuse and you have an arts festival, or you got more than enough hotel rooms. I mean, you'd never fill them all. So it becomes, and our organization is, looked at and says it's not a competition issue per se. It's more of a level of the playing field. If somebody, like for myself, if I want to stay at a Hampton Inn and I would stay there, somebody else might not want to stay at a Hampton Inn or any hotel, might want to do a short. There's the opportunity for them to do that if there's a level playing field. Right.
And I recommend that everybody check out last week's show. In the first half of the show, I spoke to my Here to Stay TV producer, Art, all about the convergence of hospitality and how we're seeing service departments and design-driven hostels and all of these things all coming together to create a new hospitality industry. We get into the pros and cons and the reality that all of this is happening, the reality that you have to deal with every day, Mark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's changing. Even the brands are coming out and they're introducing new brands all the time.
Yeah.
They're very different from they were 10 years ago. Larger living spaces, less in it, more community based. So they are also seeing what the communities and what the travelers are looking for and adjusting to that right away. And there's a place for everybody to stay. I mean, I like to stay in certain places. Glenn, you like to stay in certain types of places. Yeah. And there's a market for everybody out there. That's the great thing about hospitality. There's something for everybody's choice.
Yeah. And because people are staying so much in hotels these days and some of these alternate accommodations, the need for great talent is becoming a lot more, needed. I just used needed twice. The need for great talent is a lot more critical now, more than ever. One of the common problems that I find speaking to hoteliers all over the United States, whenever I'm in a different city, is the same story that you were starting to tell me last night. Not enough great people to fill all the critical roles in hotels.
That's the number one issue that we hear from our members. I travel quite a bit and speak. We do different conferences, and one of the things, and we have question and answer sessions, is I have a great hotel. I can't get enough great help, or not even great help. I can't even get enough help to run my hotel, especially during, and we talked about it earlier in the podcast, during those high seasons, whether you're a ski resort and you're looking for people in the winter, or you're in Lake George and you're hopping 100% full in the summertime. Getting enough people to work is virtually impossible. One reason is transportation. Some of these places are rural. Being able to get to transport people in is tough. Another problem, not to go back to Airbnb, is they've taken a lot of the housing that used to be affordable for the workers to come to these rural locations and work. that's off the market now. So the hotel doesn't have anywhere to put these people up.
Right.
But the finding good employees and finding any employees is the biggest concern that I hear, because again, it's the customer service, the guest experience, and if you don't have halfway decent people in your hotel, they're going to walk out of there. What did we talk about 10 minutes ago? The reviews.
Right.
So if you don't have quality people and somebody walks out and says, I didn't have a quality stay, they wind up with a review, it could be just because there's not enough people to work.
Yeah,
that want to work.
Right. Now, at the same time, though, and this is all just coming to me as we're having this conversation here, there's more hospitality schools than ever, and there is that potential to create that future workforce. Have you thought about, are you partnering with any of the schools to try to create a great hospitality ecosystem for the up-and-coming people that are interested?
We don't get directly involved with that. We have a lot of colleges who are members. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I know they're trying to do is partner on internship programs, real work experience, trying to get them in there. But I will tell you, and those hospitality schools are great, but when I go around and talk to some of the GMs there, a lot of them just started working. They were 16 years old, washing dishes in the kitchen. They experienced all the departments and wound up being a general manager, 20 years into their career, and they have that great passion. And the one thing is, sometimes, in all honesty, I hear a lot of the college kids come out and say, hey, I got a great hospitality degree. I want to make $70,000 and I want to be the general manager.
No, boy.
And they say, well, not yet. You got to work at the front desk and you got to experience all the different departments. So it's tough. We have a lot of great colleges, RIT, Niagara, some of the big Cornell, some of the big name ones. And they're putting a lot of great people out into the workforce, but there aren't enough of them.
That's so interesting, though. But there's also that unintended consequence of people wanting to just go straight to the top.
Yes.
Something I never even thought of.
Yep.
So where, a lot of the major CEOs of all the big hotel companies, they all started washing dishes or parking cars or carrying luggage, right?
Yeah, that's it.
So there's nothing wrong with that, but kind of what I see in the food and beverage side of the business is everybody goes into wanting to be a chef so they could be on TV.
Yes.
It's the same kind of phenomenon.
You're exactly right. That's where we see it. And a lot of times we get the college kids, the owners of multiple properties that we have say, we got a lot of great candidates that come in, but they want to day after day one of getting out of school, they want to be the general manager making a lot of money. And they haven't, they don't have the experience of working in the hotel. So that's one of the mindsets that they've had to try to change, but it does help. They've come out and they're prepared and they're ready. But they're ready to be sort of a department manager, not managing the hotel.
I think the real problem here is that parents are making their kids too confident. We need less confident people that are going to work their way up through the
everybody
through the
wins a trophy. They get out of college from the time they're 8 years old, and they say, hey, my daughters, they're in sports, and they come home and they get a ribbon. I'm like, well, forget the ribbon. You got to go compete, do the best you can. But yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think people, a lot of times, again, nothing different than when we were kids too, but you walk out thinking, hey, I got a lot of debt. I got to pay a lot back, so I need X amount of salary. Yeah. Those jobs aren't there right away.
Interesting puzzle that you guys all have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. So let's wrap this up by telling me something that you're really excited about, something super positive that's happening within the association.
I think the most exciting thing for the association is this year we brought back a full annual conference. We're going to do regional annual conferences around the state. We're going to get more statewide. We want to touch our members from Long Island to Buffalo to Plattsburgh. So that's what we're focused on.
Right. As as someone from Long Island, I like to be touched, so I appreciate that.
we want to get more involved in the education of our members too, on regulations that need to be listening to. So education, networking, awards, conferences. We want to be all over the state.
Right. So you want to make sure that everybody understands some of these issues like drive-by ADA lawsuits and card check is coming back and all of these things. And if you want to know more about the politics behind all of this, check out my show with Vinay Patel, the Secretary of AHOA. They just had the Legislative Action Summit on Capitol Hill, and you'll learn all about the major issues that are affecting hospitality on a national level. So check that out. Anything else that you want to add, Mark?
That's it. It's been great to be here. I'll be signing up for the podcast when I get out of the room, and look forward to following you guys the rest of the way.
Yeah, thanks so much. And how about a good shameless plug for the association, Mark?
Yeah, if you're a hotel member in New York State, please go to www.nyshta.org. get some information, sign up with us, and we'll show you great value.
All right, the New York State Tourism Authority, NYSTA. It's a lot of letters in.
It is.
In a row. But it all makes sense. So thank you all for listening, and thank you, Mark, for being here. And I will be back next week. That is unless I decide to, I don't know, stay here at this casino forever because it's so great. I need a massage. See you guys next week.
Thanks so much for listening to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast with your host, Glenn Hausman, online at rouse.media, on Twitter at Traveling Glenn, and on Facebook.com/Glenn.Hausman. We'll catch you next time.